Beginning this Thursday, we have the opportunity to once again enter the topsy-turvy world of Gilbert and Sullivan with the GNS Society of Winnipeg's production of Yeomen of the Guard. To tell us more, I'm joined by Jayne, Hammond, and Zoe Gotziaman. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you. I want to just begin just by introducing both of you to Winnipeg audiences because you're both not from here, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. Jayne, I'm wondering if you could begin. Where's home originally?
I'm originally from Victoria, British Columbia, but I came here by way also of Waterloo, Ontario. So I did my undergraduate studies at Wilfrid Laurier University. Then I went back to Victoria for a few years and studied at the conservatory there and did some singing in Victoria. And then I've been in Winnipeg for 3 years because I did my master's and I graduated last year at the University of Manitoba.
Nice. Congratulations. Who'd you study with?
Tracy Dahl.
Yeah, she's a big draw, isn't she?
She
I mean, you kind of
sure
took the long
is.
way to Winnipeg. I mean, via Waterloo. I don't know
but
that
I got
flight.
here eventually.
You did, and now you're here. Classic 107 audiences might have caught you at your WSO debut, right? Back in January. Congrats on that.
Thank you very much. That was so much fun.
Tell us a little bit more about the Nielsen you got to perform in.
Yeah, that was a really amazing opportunity and a very cool piece because essentially I was being used as an instrument in the orchestra. Mm-hmm. So my part didn't have any text. I was kind of part of the wind section. So I got the thrill of actually sitting in the orchestra and being a part of that. And it was an amazing experience.
Amazing. And it adds such a magical quality to the score. Like it's this ethereal, like what is that? Is it a voice? It's haunting in a way. It's so beautiful. So congrats on that. This is very exciting. Zoe, home for you is originally the East Coast, right?
Oh, originally Toronto.
Originally Toronto.
Yeah. And then I started my undergrad at Dalhousie. And then I worked with Tracy Dahl. Same teacher.
Yep, there's the draw.
and then I moved to Winnipeg to study with her, and I'm in my second year. This is my second year at U of M.
Nice. How are you enjoying it so far?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah?
I love
Good
working
fit?
with Tracy. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you've done a fair bit of performing here in town already,
Yeah.
right? Like between Little Opera Company and Manitoba Opera.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you ever done GNS before?
I did. I was in the chorus of Redagore last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what about Gilbert and Sullivan attracts you as a performer?
I mean, it's like a beautiful blend between opera and musical theater, which are two things that I love so much. And I really like that it's really funny, but at the same time, it's not because it's very serious for the characters and they're in these crazy circumstances. But for you, it's still very honest. It's like, oh no, my husband, I thought he was dead, but he's not. And it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like this little vignette into Victorian era musical theater. You know, it is accessible in this really fascinating way. Jayne, I'm wondering if you could tell us just a little bit about Yeomen of the Guard.
Yeah, so this is one of Gilbert and Sullivan's later works. It was written in 1888. And it's very interesting because Sullivan he was such a prodigious composer and he was so well respected in England. And this really marks a more involved music making. Like his music for this is so much more operatic in style in some ways than the other lighter fare that Gilbert and Sullivan were involved in. And it's also different in that it doesn't have the traditional completely happy ending that most Gilbert and Sullivan does. I mean, it's, you'll have to come to the show to figure out what I'm talking about. But not everything ends super happily for everyone. So he had more room to write music that was more dramatic and more intense and just grander in scale. So it's a really interesting piece in the repertoire.
And we heard it in the overture too, right? Like we were all sitting in here in the room going like, man, that is a great overture. Yeah. It really sets the tone. And you touched on it, Jayne, in that it's a darker, more serious Gilbert and Sullivan than both. Not to give away too much, but it's this kind of like ever-changing balance between, joy and despair, love and sacrifice. And you both are kind of at the center of that for a good portion of it. Zoe, what can you tell us about your character?
Well, Phoebe is a teenage girl who feels everything very intensely. So she has a huge crush on Colonel Fairfax and just really feels that. And everything she does is just with so much enthusiasm, and she cries constantly. I burst into tears 9 times, I think. I have a handkerchief in my sleeve, and I just am constantly just sobbing into it because that's how she feels things. And also, everything changes so quickly in the plot that it makes sense that that's how she feels. Yeah, she's really fun to play.
And you really get caught up in the drama, right?
Yeah.
Has your evolution of this character changed since you started working on it with Reed and the team?
Yes. I think something that I keep exploring with is whether she's smart or not, because some characters call her Featherbrain, and I'm trying to figure out if she's actually just manipulative or she's just kind of a little dumb. And it's something that I kind of go back and forth on, and she has her moments. Because even in one of the plot resolutions, if she had thought it through a little more clearly, I think she could come up with a better solution, but she doesn't. So
that's got to be a fun line to play, though, right? Just going back and forth between those two different versions of the character. It's got to motivate you in a well, I mean, it's just a fun way to be. And again, I keep coming back to this topsy-turvy that we hear in the ads and everything like that. Jayne, to bring you into things once again, what can you tell us about your character?
I love my character. I feel like she was me when I was 17. She's so brash and she's kind of fearless. So she's a traveling songstress and entertainer, which obviously as a performer who has traveled around, I can relate to just on an immediate level. But she, so she knows how to handle herself. So she walks into the Tower of London with her jester friend Jack Point, and things get a little out of hand right away, but she can handle herself, and she pulls out a knife, as one does when they're getting assaulted by a mob of people. So she might be a 16th century woman, but she certainly knows how to take care of herself. And I think that she doesn't, with pieces of this time, there are a lot of societal things that can trap women into ways of acting, but I think that she really stands her ground and she makes decisions about who she wants to be with and what she wants to do that are truly hers, and she really knows how to make the most out of her life. I really, really like my character.
It's got to be nice to have a character who holds their own, right? Throughout the drama, they are true to themselves, especially when you're talking, Zoe, about your character going back and forth, and it's like, who is this character? And they play off each other really, really nicely that way. I want to touch on this production. It begins this Thursday, runs through Saturday. What have you guys enjoyed about this upcoming show?
I love the Gilbert and Sullivan Society. I've had so much fun working with them. The caliber of people that we're involved with, our director, our conductor, has just been amazing. The sets are beautiful. The costumes from Harlequin are amazing. But just the community of the Gilbert and Sullivan Society, they're just such a warm group of people. They just take care of you. They immediately, this is my first show with them, and they just welcomed me with open arms. We have delicious snacks at breaks and rehearsals. That's been my favorite part.
Yeah, the community. Yeah, everyone knows everyone's names, and it's so nice to work with everyone.
Yeah, it fosters young talent and experienced talent for that matter. And it's so Winnipeg, right? Everybody is just supporting each other in this great production. I want to just kind of end things off talking about this piece of music. And before I get you guys to introduce it, I'm just going to let everybody know that you can catch Jayne Hammond and Zoe Gotziaman in the upcoming production of Yeomen of the Guard, proudly presented by the GNS Society of Winnipeg at Pantages Playhouse, Thursday, April 5th through Saturday, April 7th. For more information about the show and tickets, head to classic107.com and keep tuned for some pairs of tickets that I'm going to be giving away to the Thursday performance. Guys, I was wondering if you could introduce this tune before you go. All right? Well, we're going to hear I Have a Song to Sing. Jayne, would you mind introducing this one? Because your character gets to sing this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the song that myself and Jack Point sing immediately upon entering the Tower of London. So after the crowd goes a little bit crazy and gets really excited that we're there, we calm them all down, and we sing this song that's kind of like a duet. It's sort of like in a traditional sea shanty or ballad style. So it tells the story of a young man, a merry man, and his maid, which is also the subtitle of the show, and just basically how the merry maid falls in love with somebody else, but then eventually she comes to terms with the fact that she's in fact in love with the merry man, and then they get together and all live happily ever after. And this music does come back at the end of the show, and I'll leave it to you to come to the show and figure out how the show ends with that music.
Outstanding. And we're going to hear it sung by your teacher, Tracy Dahl.